Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Hi, and welcome to Straight Talk About God video. I'm Jack. 12 big whys. W-H-Y-S. Why? See, I've developed a tool that helps me understand God and Jesus. And it's asking why God did certain things throughout history. So just to understand the use of this tool, we're going to start by having a short quiz. Short quiz, okay? And the answers I come up with are based in what I know about the Bible and backed up with references and logic. Okay? Before we start, though, I'll give you the bottom line of the big picture of what God is doing. He's making up a number of immortal souls that will take the place of the angels that rebelled, including Satan. That's the bottom line of everything that God is doing on the earth. Right. But before we start, what I want to do is I'll give you the list, without any references, the list of what we're going to talk about. And you might want to stop and get a pencil and paper, okay? Because I'd like you to write down just a couple of words as I give you the list, just a couple of words of what you think might be the answer of why God created whatever it was he created. And it's okay if you don't have an answer. You put a question mark. It's okay if you don't even write everything down, okay? Okay, are you ready? Got your pencil and paper? Okay. Here's the list, okay? Now, everything says, why did God create whatever, okay? Why did God create the heavens in Genesis 1:1? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Heaven and the earth, okay? We're going to find out that our normal interpretation of verse 1 is faulty, because creating the heaven and the earth were two separate creation things. Separate creation events, okay? The heavens that God created in Genesis 1:1 did not contain the earth and the solar system. And we'll prove that, okay? Next, why did God create angels? Why did God create angels? Okay. How about the next one? Why did God create the earth and the solar system? Okay. The next one is, why did God destroy the earth? Not the whole solar system, but the earth. Why did God destroy the earth? He created the earth and then destroyed it? Sure did. Next, why did God recreate the earth? Destroyed it, I'm going to recreate it. Okay. Next, why did God create people? Why did God create people anyway? Okay. And then, why did God create, and some of these creations are allowed, okay, it's allowed. Why did God allow or create the flood, the worldwide flood? Not just a local flood, a worldwide flood. Why did God do that? Right? Next, why did God create Abraham? Okay. Why did God create or bring to pass Jesus? Why did God create Jesus? Okay. Then, Why did God create the Great Tribulation? 7,000 years of the Antichrist? Great Tribulation. Why did God create his kingdom? Jesus preached the kingdom of God, right? Why did God create a kingdom? And lastly, why did God create the new heaven and new earth? Okay? Okay, now we'll go to my answers. Why did God create the heaven? I don't know. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I've been reading the Bible and studying a lot of stuff for 40 years, and I don't know why he did that. There doesn't seem to be a reason anywhere I could find. But he did. But, as I said earlier, he didn't create the solar system as part of the heavens. Heavens is the whole solar system. I mean, the whole universe. Galaxies and nebula and all that. Okay? Well, the next thing, we're going to get back to that. We have to read a couple of things before we put them in the line. Okay? Didn't create the earth and the solar system. Next, he created angels. Okay? He created the universe, then he created angels. Why did he create the angels? Why does God create anything? To do his work. To work for him. To accomplish his goals. Simple. Well, what could God's goal be to create angels and only the universe was there without the solar system? To take care of the universe, right? To take care of the universe. The Bible alludes many times that something they're calling stars are angels. The angels were created to take care of the universe. They were the stewards of the universe. Okay? Job 38:7 tells us what the angels were doing when God created the earth. Oh, see, the lineup is there. The universe, angels, then the solar system, which means that the first creation of the universe didn't contain the solar system. Because the angels in Job 38:7, when the morning stars sang together. Morning stars sang? How did angels, the angels that were taking care of the universe, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. What does Revelation 9:1 say about angels? Okay, this is the trumpets. All the trumpets are sounding. Okay, and the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven onto earth. Ooh, the smallest, weakest star in the universe. If that fell on the earth, it would wipe the earth out completely. Completely. There wouldn't be any earth left at all. Never mind without form and void. Wouldn't be left at all. Stars are huge, right? But the fifth angel sounded, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. It's an angel. An angel is coming down to earth with a key to the bottomless pit to open up the pit and let out everything that's inside there. The star is an angel. Huh? Okay? Why did God then create the solar system? Why did God do that? He was testing suspicious angels and Satan. He saw something he didn't like in them when they were taking care of everything. He said, what'll I do about that? Okay, I'll do that. He created the earth, and the angels sang. Right? He put them in charge with Satan, along with Satan, to tend the solar system and the earth. Right? Job 38:4. Okay? Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. 38:5. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? And who has stretched a line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. There wasn't any solar system and earth, and as I made all of this happen, laid all the foundations and everything, they sang. Now you see this, the line of creation says universe, angels, and then what? Destroyed the earth. Wait a minute, God made this earth, and it was so beautiful that all the angels sang and everything about it, and then he destroyed it? Well, why? Why does God destroy anything? Take it out of line, as it were, killed. Why did God do that? It's this wonderful thing that the earth, God destroys corruption, doesn't he? He doesn't destroy righteousness, he destroys corruption. Something must have happened with the earth that was so corrupt that he said, that's it, I'm destroying this earth. What could that be? Jeremiah 4:23 tells us about the destruction of the earth. Did you ever hear that God destroyed the earth? I never did for a long time. Right? It's not generally taught, right? But it's right there in Jeremiah. He tells us in 4 or 5 verses. First he gives the bottom line that the earth was destroyed, and then he goes back and says the mountains did this and the hills did that and the other, and he gives the details. Okay? Jeremiah 4:23. And I beheld the earth. Think about him sitting on the moon watching all this happen. Okay? Because that's what it looked like. I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void. Does that sound familiar? That's Genesis 1:2, right? God does not create desolation. Oh, an equally valid interpretation of without form and void in Hebrew is became a waste and a desolation. Jeremiah saw what happened in between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. Because between them is a gap theory, right? And it says something bad happened in there that made the earth without form and void. And I beheld, and the heavens, and they had no light. There wasn't even any light. Wow. Right? 24, I beheld the mountains. Now these are details. And lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. I beheld, and lo, there was no man, and all the birds of heaven fled. I beheld, and lo, the fruitful place, a very specific place that was very fruitful. Try the Garden of Eden or somewhere like that, okay? And the fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord. Oh, and by his first anger, God came and destroyed all of that stuff. Why? Because God destroys corruption, right? Somehow, this first earth became very corrupt enough for God to destroy what was on the surface. He didn't destroy the whole planet, but everything was left was just the water. That was it, right? By his first anger. Well, why did he do that? Why did he destroy it? Because it was corrupt, right? But did you notice one of the verses says, and behold, there was no human being. It says man in English, but it's not. It says Adam, which is the Hebrew word for human being. There was no human being on the earth. There wasn't, because he hadn't created any yet, right? The earth became very corrupt, and there weren't any people on it. Who were the people? Who were the entities that were in those cities? The cities and the fruitful places made a wilderness and destroyed the cities. The fallen angels. The fallen angels. Two verses outline that. Psalm 89:10 and Isaiah 51:9. We're going to find out what that was. Thou hast broken Rahab in pieces. I've never heard that God killed anybody by breaking them in pieces. This is not a person. This is something else. Something that can be broken into pieces. Okay? Keep that in mind. Broken in pieces as one that is slain. Not a man that is slain, but as something that is slain, killed, taken out of the way, made ineffective. Okay? One is slain. Thou hast broken in pieces. Thou hast broken Rahab in pieces and scattered thine enemies with a strong arm. Scattered thine enemies. Oh, who are the enemies of God? Satan and the fallen angels. Satan and the fallen angels were scattered by God when something was broken in pieces. We find out more information from Isaiah chapter 51, verse 9. Awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of the Lord. God, get ready. We got some heavy stuff to happen here, and we need your strength and arm. Okay? Semicolon. Awake as in the ancient days. The ancient days. Well, this is Isaiah talking, and this isn't the ancient days in Isaiah's time, right? The ancient days, in the generations of old. Art thou not that hath cut Rahab? Oh, Rahab again. Okay. And wounded the dragon. Okay. Rahab has something to do with the dragon. Satan. Right? Satan. You see, this Rahab is not the woman from Jericho that let the red cord go out the window so that when they conquered the city, she'd be saved. Her name was Rahab. This isn't Rahab. This Rahab is the planet that became the headquarters planet of the solar system for Satan and the rebellion angels. That God put in charge of that so that he could see what they were going to do. If they were going to rebel, okay. If they weren't going to rebel, that's good. It's a test lab for the fallen angels, right? Okay. And wounded the dragon, that's what it says. Right, okay? The planet between Mars and Jupiter exploded into pieces and became the asteroid belt. It was Satan's headquarters of the solar system, as he and the fallen angels were in charge of taking care of it. Okay? That's why God destroyed it. Because the angels, did you notice that? It said that in 25, it said there was no human beings. There were no human beings on this. And God destroyed it anyway. Who was in those cities? The cities. The fallen angels that were put in charge of taking care of the whole place. Right? And they did nothing but say, we're better than anybody. And Satan said, I'm going to be God. right? Well, he busted up the whole planet, and they got scattered everywhere. Right? Okay, got rid of all the bad guys. Well, okay. No, we're not. Because now, why did God recreate the earth? Recreate the whole surface. He didn't recreate the globe. Okay? Why did he do that? Right? God created the earth again, recreated it for people to live on. It was a creation that would nurture human beings to begin with, you know. You see, God said, well, if they rebel, what will I do? So he had plan B. Adam was part of plan B, okay? Here's what God said in Genesis 1:26. He made the earth for people. Right? And God said, let us make man in our image and after the likeness, and let them have dominion, rulership over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, the cattle and all over the earth, and everything that creepeth upon the earth. Verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female. See, Adam was an Adam, and Eve was also an Adam, because Adam means human being. Again, male and female created he them. Verse 28, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it. Subdue it, and have dominion, rule, take care of all the fish of the sea, fowl of the air, every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Boom. 129. And God said, behold, I have given you, Adam, I have given you every green herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree, which is the fruit of the tree of seed, yielding seed. To you it shall be for food. King James says meat, but that's what it means, for food. I'm giving you this whole planet for food. You know, everything that you can eat, there it is. Verse 30, and to every beast on the earth, to every fowl of the air, and everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. He recreated the earth for people. Well, that leads us to the next why. Why did he create people? Why did he do that? You know? He created people in order to supply a bloodline of holy people, trusters, people who will trust him and get God's Spirit inside their body. 2 Timothy 2, verse 12. If we suffer, Paul says, we Christians are going to be persecuted, but if we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he will also deny us. Believers are going to reign with Jesus. That's why he created people, right? Revelation 20, verse 6, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. When everybody is resurrected and given judgment, okay? On such the second death hath no power. But they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And that pins it exactly down to the millennium, the 1,000-year kingdom of God on the earth. That's why he created people, so that they would help Jesus rule the earth. Well, end of story. You know, taken care of it. No. Why did God create the flood? Well, we had this holy line of people going on here, and Adam and Noah and Enoch and everything. Why did he bring the flood on there? To get rid of the fallen angel corruption. Genesis 6, verse 1. Angels mated with women and produced giants. Goliath was a hybrid, half human, half angel. All the giants in the Old Testament are half human, half angel. Bad, bad people, right? Some of them 30 feet tall. Right? Genesis 6, verse 3. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man. Why did he do the flood? For he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. And God looked upon, this is verse 12, and God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt. See? Corrupt. Destroy it. Corrupt. For all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. All flesh had corrupted his way. Oh, these fallen angels got together with the human women and with a bunch of animals and did a whole bunch of DNA research and generation, and produced all those mythical animals like the centaur and all those things from mythology. That's where we get those from. Huh? They corrupted everything that God had made. That was their job from Satan. Right? Verse 13, and God said to Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. I'm going to take care of everybody. See? And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth, and destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. The breath of life. If you breathe, you're dead. Right? That's the animals too. Right? Maybe not the whales and the porpoise, because they live in the ocean, and maybe they didn't bother trying to, destroy their DNA. Right? Everything that is in the earth shall die. But I have to go back to 120 years, because people who don't understand all of this, who haven't done any deeper research into the book of Jasher, will know that this isn't a 20-year lifespan that God has created and has ordained that would be the after the flood lifespan of people. 120 years, that's what everybody teaches, but that's not what it is. Jasher outlines, he says, God came to Noah and he said, I'm going to bring a flood on the earth in 120 years. You go and you preach to the whole world that the flood is going to happen, and they better change their ways, And that's what he did. At 115 years, God came to him again and he said, okay, Noah, you did your job. Go back home and build this ark and save all these animals and the food and all that stuff. That's the 120 years, because God's going to bring a flood in 120 years, not the lifespan of man. The lifespan of man went down because man corrupted himself and put bad stuff in his food today, Okay? The earth shall die. Okay. Got rid of all the bad guys. We're in good shape, Angels don't die. Heavenly spirits don't die. Why did God create Abraham? To begin a holy line, which started with Adam, but ended at the flood. That line was over, except for Noah. And out of Noah came Abraham to birth a holy nation. A holy nation. Genesis 12:1. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and out of thy kindred and from thy father's house into the land that I will show thee. Okay? Now he's going to give him 5 things over a bunch of different verses. 5 things. If you put these 5 things down on a list and then look at the world, just world history, overall world history, you'll know exactly where the lost tribes are. Because the Israelites are the lost tribes, right? All of the Israelites came out of Abraham, a holy line, right? Okay, verse 2. See? Verse 2 is what he's going to give him. And I will make thee a great nation. Great nation. Greater than all the other nations. Right? And I will bless thee and make thy name great. And thou shalt be a blessing. Go to chapter 13, verse 16. We have another thing. Going to be a great nation. Okay? Somewhere in his multitude of descendants, it's going to be a great nation. And I will make this thy seed, like the dust of the earth. Oh, that's how many people are going to be. The dust of the earth. Well, there's over 1 billion Israelites in the world today. Maybe 1.25 billion, half. Yeah. We know exactly where they are. We can't number them all. There's so many of them. Over 1 billion. Dust of the earth. So that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then thy seed shall also be able to be numbered. Chapter 17, verse 4. It's a different thing now. As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be the father of many nations. Not just a great nation. Now we've got a whole bunch of nations, and one of them is great. The greatest nation of world history is an Israelite nation. That's what he's saying. Okay? But there's going to be a lot of nations. Oh, now we got nations. Okay? 17:5. Neither shall thy name any more be Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. All right, many nations. Verse 6. And I will make thy seed exceedingly fruitful. And I will make nations come out of thee. Okay? And kings. Well, now we got kings. Great nation. Multitude of seed. Nations. And now we got kings. Okay? Okay, we skip over to chapter 22, verse 17. That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, dust of the earth, and as the sand which is on the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. That's number 4. Oh, you can find that in today's history, all right? When there are 1 billion Israelites on the face of the earth, you're going to find that they will control the gate of their enemies. What does that mean? A worldwide gate of what? What a worldwide gate of trade, right? Gibraltar, Suez Canal, Panama Canal, Cape of Good Hope, Cape Horn, into the North Sea. There's 15 or 20 trade gates of the world, and they all are controlled, except the United States gave Panama to China. They're all controlled by the British and the United States. Britain and the United States. They're the lost tribes. That's why they control those things. Okay? The last thing in verse 18 of 22, and thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. How does that happen? Well, the United States and Britain Bible societies sent missionaries everywhere to talk about God and learn about God in the Bible and so forth. And Jesus came, and by his coming, the whole earth was blessed. Right? Okay? Well, that takes care of everything, doesn't it? Huh? Well, no. Because there's a lot of people who just don't believe, don't they? So God had to create the era of Jesus. He sent Jesus to the earth to do something, right? To do 2 separate events. Separate. Die and be resurrected. 2 completely separate events doing completely separate results. What's the result of Jesus dying? Not saving the world. Yeah. See? Not saving the world. It's to remarry the house of Israel. We'll get to that. What about resurrecting? Resurrecting wasn't have anything to do with God remarrying the house of Israel, because it has nothing to do with marriage. It has to do with the inauguration of the new covenant. The new covenant. What's the new covenant? The new covenant is the indwelling spirit for the life of faithing, instead of depending on the Old Testament law. Oh, go to Jeremiah again, huh? Jeremiah's got almost everything we need, right? Okay. Jeremiah says in 31:31, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, well, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah." Two completely separate nations now. In Isaiah's time, at least, okay, in Jeremiah's time, right? I will make a new covenant with the house of Judah, not according, verse 32, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which covenant they break, stiff-necked Jew, although I was a husband to them. A husband. Oh, husbands has something to do with marrying, don't they? I was a husband to these stiff-necked Israelites, and they broke my law anyway, right? Okay. Jeremiah 31:33 says, "But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts." Now that's not a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's Him doing the indwelling Spirit. When God's Spirit is inside your body, He looks at you and He says, "You are righteous as I am." He doesn't count all of the unrighteousness that's still hanging around down in there, right? After those days, in their hearts, I will be their God, and they will be my people. Jeremiah 3:8 gets back to the marriage part. God always saw the Israelites as His wife. And then when they split into two different nations, He had two different wives, right? Jeremiah 3:8. "And I saw, when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, went after a different God, I put her away and have given her a bill of divorce." He divorced the house of Israel. Oh, what does that mean? "Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not. She went and played the harlot also." Both those nations went to idol worship. Occasionally, a new king would come along in the house of Judah and would take down all the altars and restore God to the nation. And then after 2 or 3 kings, they go right back to idol worship. But they never went completely away from God like the house of Israel did. Okay? Judah feared not and played the harlot also. Read Romans 7, verses 1 through 3, and you'll see the law for marriage. And that law says, if the wife is divorced, she can't marry unless her former husband dies. If the man divorces the wife, he can't remarry until she dies. God can't remarry the house of Israel. He divorced them unless some part of God dies. Jesus died in God's place, so now He can get back in touch on a functional basis of the house of Israel, so that they can get the word of God out to the rest of the world. And become eventually believers to take the place of the angels. Right? Well, everything's settled now. Got it all straightened out. No, we haven't. Because now we have to ask, why did God create the tribulation? The great tribulation, 7 years with the Antichrist and all those trumpets and vials and all that stuff. To eliminate and place at bay non-believers. Mainly to get rid of a lot of non-believers. Right? Revelation 6:8. Right? And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed him. Hell followed him. Well, that's something that we don't hear with all the other horses of the apocalypse. Why did God add it in there? Hell followed him. Because a lot of the non-believers are going to go to hell. Right? That's what's going to happen. Right? And power was given unto them, death and hell, to kill over a fourth part of the earth. A fourth part of the earth. To kill with the sword, and with hunger, third horse, famine, and with death, and with beasts of the earth. Right? A fourth part of the... We have going on 8 billion people. What's 1/4 of 8 billion people? 2 billion people. 2 billion people by these 4 entities here are going to die. But then what does it say in chapter 9, verse 15? And the 4 angels, this is a different event here. The 4 angels that were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay a third part of men. A third part of men. Now we got 1/4 and 1/3. Okay? These angels were locked up underneath the Euphrates River. And at some time in history later on, near Armageddon and in the Great Tribulation, they're going to be let loose. The way the star from heaven is going to open the bottomless pit, which is a different thing. Right? And now they're going to slay 1/3 of the people that are left. 1/4 of 8 billion is 2 billion people. 1/3 of 6 billion people that are left over is another 2 billion people. Half the Earth's population is going to die. Chapter 19, verse 19. And I saw the beast, the Antichrist, and the kings of the earth, and the armies, and their armies, gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse, and against his army. Who's that? That's Jesus at the second coming, right? Jesus is going to come and wipe out all those bad guys at Armageddon, isn't he? Right? Satan has been gathering his workforce, his army, to fight against Jesus when he comes back. Right? Verse 20 says, and the beast, the human body of the Antichrist, the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet, the human false prophet, that wrought miracles before him, and which had deceived them that received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped the image. Both human bodies, both these were cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone. And weren't their bodies consumed into nothing? Sure. But what survived? The demon spirits that possessed those bodies. Apollyon, the king of the bottomless pit, was let loose at the halfway point of the tribulation period, and he possessed the Antichrist and did a lot of great stuff. Fire from heaven, all that. Verse 21, and the remnant, not those leaders, the remnant, all of the 200 million kings of the east, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon that horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth. And all the fowls of the air were filled with their flesh. Jesus came and said, "Whoop," and they all died. Eyes consumed in their sockets and all of that, right? Ezekiel tells us how many died and what happened to that land over there. Chapter 39, verse 1. Therefore, Son of man, prophesy against Gog. That's all the leader of all the people that are against God. Right? Thus saith the Lord, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Next verse, and I will turn thee back, but I will leave a sixth part of thee. 5/6 are going to be taken care of. 1/6 is not going to die. They're going to be part of the seed population that makes war at the end of the tribulation of the 1,000-year millennium. Okay? I will turn thee back and leave a sixth part of thee, and will cause thee to come up from the north parts, and will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel, and smite thy bow out of thy hand, and cause thy arrows to fall out of thy right hand. Skip to verse 11. And then it shall come to pass in that day that I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel. All of these dead bad people that get consumed by Jesus' sword out of his mouth are going to be buried there in the whole big land of Israel. Okay? Place of graves in Israel, and the valley of the passengers on the side and the east of the sea. Okay? And it shall stop the noses of the passengers, and there they shall bury Gog and all his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Hamon-Gog. Okay? Verse 12. This is how many people there are that are going to die. 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying them. All of these people that die in an instant out of the mouth of Jesus they're not going to be buried by pick and shovel. Okay? They're going to be Cat 9 bulldozers digging mass graves and pumping all those, how many hundreds of thousands, millions of dead bodies that stink so bad they can smell it all the way over to the Mediterranean Sea practically. That's how many they're going to be. One place it says that the blood is going to flow to the bridle of the horses. Well, now we got all the bad guys. What do we need with the kingdom? Because that's next, right? Because Christ establishes the kingdom after he wipes out all the bad guys, and the saints are glorified and they come and they rule it. Why do that? What's the overall plan? Supply the number that will take the place of the angels that rebelled, right? That's what's going to happen during the kingdom. Finish adding the believers to the list. Revelation 20, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given to them. These are rulers that judge the people, the non-believers, that sixth part that were let go. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, souls, martyred people for Jesus that became glorified rulers for the word of God, and which worshiped not the beast, neither his image, neither received his mark in their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned, ruled with Christ 1,000 years. And that pins it right down to the millennium. You can't misinterpret that. 1,000 years. That's why he created the kingdom. Right? And the last one on the list was the new heaven and new earth. Well, now he's got the kingdom. Now he's got the number of people that were the same as the why can't I say bad angels? Okay. Revelation 21, verse 16. And the city, this is Jerusalem, the new Jerusalem, descending from heaven, and the new heaven and new earth. Okay? The city lieth 4 square. It's a cube. It's a cube. Okay. 4 square. The length is as large as the breadth. And he, the angel that's measuring the city, right? Measuring the city. John is watching him measure the city. And he measured the city, and with a reed, 12,000 furlongs. The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal. It's a cube. Every surface is 12,000 cubits, furlongs. What's a furlong? A furlong is 1/9 of a mile. So when you multiply 1/9 of a mile by 12,000, you come up with 1,333 miles. Well, okay. No, it's not okay, because it's 1,333 miles high. Not just wide or long, it's high. 1,300 miles is higher than most of our satellites. Can you imagine a big cube sitting in the middle of the United States with only a couple of 100 miles on each side to the ocean? That's how big it is. It takes up the whole Midwest and everything, and it's 1,300 miles high? Why? For the glorified people, there are no bad guys left for them to live. Like Satan was in charge of the solar system, and the angels are in charge of the universe and the solar system, that's what the new people are going to do. And that's going to be their headquarters. Huh? Well, how did you do? Huh? This is really a good tool. I just love it, you know. You can see why asking why leads to the bigger picture, right? And knowing the bigger picture is extremely important. And most people study and study and study and study and study, and then finally come to the picture of the big picture. And they can do it a lot easier and sooner than that by just asking why, right? Knowing the big picture is very helpful in weeding out all the things that have been misinterpreted about Scripture and are out of context. And that happens a lot with prophecy. Well, they take a couple of verses and they say, well, this probably means this. And then they build a whole big scenario around it and write books and volumes on, and it's all wrong because they haven't got the context right for the one or two little verses, okay? I did a whole video on this stuff, okay? On Revelation 13. I have never heard but one person teach properly on Revelation 13, okay? That's where the Antichrist comes out of the sea of humanity, right? The beast, okay? Talks about the beast with 7 heads. 7 heads. Okay, beast had 7 heads. It's a beast. No, it's not. It's a man. Huh? A man. And everybody says it's a man, all right? The Antichrist is not anything but a man, all right? But what it says about a man doesn't fit in about him having 7 heads. What man ever had 7 heads? None. The 7 heads are symbolic of something else. And one of those something else's was taken out of the way, made ineffective, as it were, died. He didn't really die, but it was just like the fact that he died because he was no use in anything anymore, right? No man ever had 7 heads. Why do most all the teachers and pastors teach that the Antichrist, that beast is a man, yeah. Well, it says right there, his head was wounded and he died and he came back to life. No, he didn't. It's not the Antichrist. It's one of those 7 heads, not the Antichrist single head, right? Because the next verse it says, the verse clearly says, one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death. And his deadly wound was healed. What is his deadly wound? His deadly wound is when Gabriel and Michael came to the prince of the Medo-Persians and took him away after they talked to Daniel and told him about a vision that he wanted to know. They took that blasphemous angel away and locked him up in the bottomless pit. That was Apollyon. And then a star comes and opens the bottomless pit and he comes back to rule again, right? But without putting this in the context of the book of Daniel, one misses the fact that the beast 7 heads that was wounded was not the head of a man, right? Try using this Y tool, right? You don't have to use it on a big scale. There's a lot of little big pictures in the Bible. I think you'll find it useful. See, God is very logical, right? And asking why will probably point you in the right direction and wind up with the answer to your question, right? I hope you find this is true. Thanks a lot for watching. God bless.